In the last lecture, you got an overview of the first project that you're going to complete in this course, and that is to create a buyer persona and identify your unique selling proposition, two fundamental things that you need to do if you want to effectively market your business. So what we're going to do in this lecture is really get started on the first step, and you're going to learn how to develop a buyer persona for your business and answer this key question really: who exactly are your customers and what problem are you solving for them? So what we're going to do is run through a little bit of the theory, then I will show you the buyer persona that I created for this course. I'll show you the exact questions that I answered in order to create this, and then you can use the template that you got in the last lecture to really create this buyer persona for yourself. So in terms of what is a buyer persona, well, it's a semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer. So down here you can see the buyer persona that I created for this course. There's a picture, there's a name, etc. Now this is totally fictional. The student doesn't exist. There is no student like this in the course. But the key benefit for me to create this, even before I recorded a single lecture, was to really humanize my product and my marketing and really make it real for me by picturing an actual person. That made it much more effective. Instead of focusing on target market or something like that, it's very hard to actually think about, okay, how can I help meet their needs if you're thinking in terms of target market. So really the buyer persona is just an exercise to really humanize things, to make it real for you, and as a result then you can make better products and have stronger and more cost-effective marketing, because you've got that more tailored message. You're minimizing all that waste instead of targeting lots of different people, and you can really discover what objections are holding customers back once you really focus in. So it's an exercise in really focus, and when you put that name to your customers, it really just makes it the whole process a lot easier for you. So in terms of, are there any tricks in terms of developing a buyer persona? How did I come up with this buyer persona that I made for this course? Well, really it was very simple. I just looked in the mirror. If you have an idea for a business, an app, a course, whatever it is, a service, more than likely it came from a frustrating experience that you had, a problem that you needed fixing, or a solution that didn't get the results that you wanted or was just too hard to implement. So there could be a solution out there, but it's just too hard to do. You may have also observed the pain points of someone that you've close contact with, but it's probably unlikely your buyer persona is someone you've never ever met before, because how could you intimately understand what is holding them back from achieving their goals? So this is really the easiest way to develop a buyer persona. If you are scratching your own itch and creating a solution, more than likely the buyer persona is yourself. Now, I know that might not be the solution for everybody, so in the next lecture I'll look at 8 more ways to gather buyer persona data. But just to keep it simple for the moment, and just so we get through all the concepts, let's just stick to that in terms of being the way that you develop a buyer persona. Now, let's look at how you actually answer the questions. In terms of the example that I've shared with you, what are they trying to achieve? This is the first question that you're going to get. So, this is a key thing that you need to understand. For me, I understood that my buyer persona wanted to launch and market a new business online from scratch. I gave him a name, John, an age 29, male, from the US. He's working full time, so this is kind of a side project for him. I'll just add that in for the moment. I just imagined he wasn't married and he didn't have any children, and the specific problem that he had is that he was overwhelmed, didn't know where to get started, needs a step-by-step guidance to get from zero to his first customers. So this is essentially the problem that I had maybe 2 years ago. This is exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't find the solutions out there. Very overwhelming, the online marketing world. Nobody really guiding you from start to finish. And that is really why I created this course, to solve my own problem, not that I have now, but that I had, maybe 2 years ago. So some of the places that I imagined that my buyer persona would be looking to solve this problem would obviously be on Udemy. If I'm creating a course, you look at the marketplaces where your product is being sold. So I thought definitely udemy.com, a lot of the students for this course are just going to come from Udemy who've already bought other courses. It's much easier to sell to people that way than someone who's never bought a course before. Obviously YouTube, there's kind of a lot of video tutorials there. Google, obviously such a big place, and some competitor blogs as well. So what I would recommend you do is go ahead and fill these out for yourself. Even if you're not, if you're working for a company, you're developing a buyer persona on behalf of somebody else, you should have a clear idea about what they are trying to achieve and really who they are. Now, some common questions I get is, okay, we have a number of different types of customers, so creating one buyer persona isn't really realistic. Well, what I would say is, look, I know there's a lot of people in this course who don't fit this description, but to start things off, to keep it simple from the start, I just created one and I tried to pin it down to the one person that I think would really get benefit out of every single section of this course. So if you've a product to service, you might have a lot of different features. They might not be helpful for everybody. So I would just pick to the one person that's really the best, who will get benefit out of everything. Now, as well as that, some people say, well, I have two buyer personas because I kind of, I might sell to a B2B company and then they use it to sell to their customers. But really you should be looking at, they're obviously buying your solution because they have a problem. And so if they're going to be the decision maker about whether to take on your product or not, then you should really put them as the buyer persona. They're the ones handing over the money, making the decision, not their customers. So really you should stick to that as well. Okay, so I'm going to really wrap it up there. What we've done in this lecture, just to recap, is you've understood really what the buyer persona is. It's a semi-fictional character. The benefit of it is that really humanizes your marketing. You can picture an actual person, what they're struggling with, and that makes it a lot easier to effectively market your business because you're talking to those pain points that they have. And even if you haven't made your product yet, that you can really build a product that meets their needs perfectly. In terms of coming up with your buyer persona, looking in the mirror is a very easy one, and also just answering these key questions as well that I've laid out in the template is a great way to go about it as well. Now, if you still feel like you need a little bit more, don't worry, because in the next lecture I'll give you 8 more ways to gather buyer persona data. But if you're okay for now, go ahead, fill this out, and then you can even improve upon it after the next lecture. So I'll see you in the next lecture.